You have the power and control to do anything with your life. The problem is you don't know it. And most people, they never will. So in today's digital society and economy, this is what you have to understand. We live in a digital metaverse where you are in full control of your destiny. Now, you can choose to do anything you want in your life. There is absolutely no limit on how much money you can earn, and there is no limit on how much you can influence people. Now, you want to change the world, or you want to change the environment, or you just want to get filthy rich through the internet, through social media. It is all fully possible. The reason you don't believe that, the reason that you don't see it as clearly as I do, is because society has programmed you to be a work ant in a wage slave society. And that's the simple truth of it. Do you remember the movie The Matrix? There is this very interesting scene where Neo opens his eyes for the first time in the real world, and he asks Morpheus why his eyes are hurting. And Morpheus simply replies, because you've never used them before. You see, the art of mastering your life is a skill just like anything else. You learn how to read, you learn how to drive, and mastering your life and achieving the dream life you want, it is all within your powers. You just don't know it. It can be done. You say that out loud, there is this little voice inside of your head saying, it can't be done, right? That's okay. I'm going to explain where that voice comes from and why it's wrong. So don't worry, by the end of this, you will understand the leveraging power of how to master your own life. But of course, life is a journey, and you don't know what your dream life is really like until you actually try it on. So for example, a lot of people dream about being financially independent and lie on the beach all day. People who have actually done this, they'll tell you that it gets old very fast. There is a better way to live life. But the fun part of life is to figure it all out for yourself. But in order to do that, you need ambition. You need to know how, and you need to work on it. And there is just no way of getting around this. Now, you need life experience to know what will actually make you happy. You can listen to more experienced people. You can take pointers from them, but pay attention to what they say, but mostly pay attention to who and what they are. The problem is that most people have little or no ambition. Most people have not inspired for greatness, and listening to most people will keep you stuck in the echo chamber of this wage slave society that we live in. Life experience and skills is one thing, but another thing is that people are very diverse. Different things motivate us in life. So there is no single path in life that will work for everyone. What you need in life is to understand that everything is about perspective. If you think like a loser, you will never win. And society has this way to keep people shackled to never aspire for greatness. It's one of the saddest truths that you'll ever discover in life, that we essentially live in a wage slave society, and I made a ton of videos on this topic. Most people get it, but often I read comments from people who defend this society that keeps them trapped. And, I get it. You invest everything in this life to strive in that system. And here comes a guy who says, there's a better way. Unlearn everything school and parents have taught you. I get it. You don't want to hear it. Like, a couple of years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's a millionaire, and he taught me something incredible just by having this simple conversation with me. We were talking about how crazy the rent prices are in a place like New York City. And I said something naive, like, I would never waste money on rent in Manhattan. Like $5,000 a month for rent? Only morons would pay that. And my millionaire friend, he sort of smiled at me and he said, you only say that because you're poor. And I was about to lash out, but I was quiet for a moment, and then I started to think about it. And I realized he was actually right. There are certain things in my life that I own, like a house, a car, my smartphone, my laptop. And there is billions of people who could not afford all those things and would even consider those things a waste of money. It's like better to buy food and water. And so life is a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of where you are in life. There was a time when I was unable to own my own house, and paying rent in some apartment was all I could afford or imagine. But eventually I advanced in life and my perspective changed. Now, have you noticed that most people seem to have zero ambition and aren't really going anywhere? You know, they work at the same place, or, you know, maybe they switch jobs every 3 to 4 years to trade up their salary, and they're kind of proud of their accomplishment, but that's sort of the extent of their ambition. And this is the problem. This is why most people don't see their full potential. They sort of settle down. They get comfortable and will never strive for anything higher than what society has planned for them. And therefore, you know, they don't bother learning new skills, and they don't believe in things like passive income or becoming a digital entrepreneur. It's easier to not believe because it gives, well, lazy people an easy out. And I'm going to explain why we do this to ourselves in a couple of minutes. But for now, it's important to be fair. It's not people's fault. You know, it's society that has programmed people, all of us, me even, into becoming a mindless drone, just, you know, following orders, not questioning anything, and just sort of following the line. And the sad part about all of this is that it's just such a waste of human potential. You know, sometimes I wish I could believe that, you know, most people are just morons and that's why they fail at life. But that's sort of a lazy way to look at things. And more importantly, it's just not true. It's their lack of perspective. Now, I happen to believe that every single person on this planet has the ability to do amazing things with their lives. The reason most people don't do anything is because society has programmed them to be, well, lesser people. And if you think about that for a second, your perspective on life is programmed by society. But the good news is that every moment is another chance to turn things around, right? So let's say you're tired of working in a cubicle, you know, or selling hot dogs in IKEA. You can actually escape. You can work on escaping that life. If you're tired of making just enough money to survive from month to month, you can escape. And I know this sounds like a sales pitch for some get-rich scheme, right? But what you need to understand that none of this is actually easy. Creating wealth, creating happiness, learning new skills, learning how to sell, it's not easy. It's actually difficult. It's like playing a new game for the first time. At first, you're just terrible at it, but then you learn, you evolve, and finally, you beat the game. And make no mistake about it, this game is 100% beatable. Right now, you are probably hearing that voice in the back of your head saying, it can't be done. It's too hard. You're not smart enough. That voice is programmed by the society that you live in. You need to ignore that voice until you no longer hear it. And it actually helps if you think of this as a game, because it's fun playing games. And the more you look at this from a game perspective, the more you will enjoy it. You will enjoy the journey more than the end goal. Again, it's a matter of perspective. The simple truth is that you simply don't know your full potential because you've never actually aspired or went for it. So I wanted to talk about a legacy for a couple of minutes before we move on to the more practical skills. And some people would say that they don't care about their legacy on the world because when you die, you won't experience or know anything about your legacy in the world, so it doesn't matter. And I've said similar things in other videos. And this is why a lot of people are very short-sighted with their ambitions, with their actions. They'll sell t-shirts, they'll scam people to get rich. Basically, they don't care about their legacy. But the truth about legacy is that every person has one. Me, you, whether we care or not, one person's life will affect hundreds and thousands of people throughout a lifetime. And the reason why this is important is that if you live a full life scamming people because you don't care what your legacy will be, at the end of your life, you'll become a miserable old man, regretting your life because you'll see that you provided absolutely no value to people in your life. And you don't want to do that. Becoming old with regret is one of the worst things that you can do to yourself. And so keep that in mind as you proceed with the tools that I'm going to provide in this episode. So I don't care what drives you. you want to save the penguins, you want to provide for your family. The important thing here is to be conscious about your life choices. You can accomplish greatness if you work on it, but if you're not careful, you can create a path of self-destruction. So be mindful of what you want your legacy to be. It's actually a very simple question. Do you want to screw people out of their money, or do you want to provide real value to people in the world? Okay, so money. Money is a big and complex discussion that I'm going to cover more in depth in the future. But for now, some things that you need to know is that you need to know the distinction between active income and passive income. And active income is what 99% of the people do for a living. They trade time for money. Passive income is when you create a product or a service that generates income even when you are not working, in your sleep, and every hour of the day for the foreseeable future. And most people, they don't believe in passive income. And to be honest, I didn't really believe in passive income either, but then I started to make passive income, and today I have several passive income streams. And it's actually what I do. I create digital assets that generate passive income. I have photos, I have videos, I have books, I have YouTube channels that generate, a ton of passive income every minute. And it's really cool, actually. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it because I want to inspire people to sort of wrap their head around this idea that they can do something similar. You can create these digital assets, as I like to call it, and some people will find them valuable and gladly pay for them. So I do want to mention a couple of words about crypto. I have made a few episodes on crypto because I was very fortunate in 2021. I earned a lot of money. Just some thoughts that I need to share about crypto in general. So crypto is a form of asset investing that can generate 10 to 100x, and it's actually where I've made most of my wealth. It's real, and it's the whole beautiful promise of a decentralized future. Unfortunately, 99% of all crypto is absolute trash and it will never take off. And I want to remind you of the word legacy here, because a lot of people in the crypto space, they don't care about creating value for people. They're only in it for a quick buck. And it's easy money. It's like ridiculously easy money if you have patience. And just by, creating a good mix of a portfolio with high and low risk cryptos, you can make a lot of money. And there is really only one simple trick to make money in crypto. You buy crypto in the bear market, when the market is on the bottom of the ocean, basically. And then when the bull run starts, you sell with a 10 to 100x return on investment. And it's that simple. Everything you need to know about how to make money in crypto. There, you have it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about generalists versus specialists. So historically speaking, most successful people in the past were highly specialized people. And the same still applies today, but with the new digital market, I think it's actually smarter to be a generalist and try on different fields and, different areas of expertise. And you can sell courses, books, music. You can provide value in all forms and in different topics. And I think that the human mind is, for the most part, a very complex thing and is capable of being interested in a lot of things as far as my life is concerned. And so that's why I have a YouTube channel for every one of my interests, right? So whether it's tech gadgets, cameras, or life philosophy, I'm not bending to the idea that I can only focus on one speciality. The things that I find interesting in life, the combination of those things, that is my niche. And it's what makes me stand out from other people. And if I was just to focus on one thing, then I would be competing with everyone who is focusing on that one thing. So let's say you like building Lego, playing video games, and investing in crypto. That combination could be your niche, and you can use it because chances are that if you are into those things, then there are other people out there who are just like you. Now, I want to talk about planning your life and the importance of it. So there's this saying, if you don't believe in something, you're gonna fall for everything. And there's something very interesting about that quote. I think that you need to have a clear goal and aspiration. You need to have a vision to strive for. You have to imagine your life in 10 years from now. Yes, 10 years, not tomorrow, not in a month. You need to understand that great things, they take a great amount of time and effort. Having a viral hit is fun, but it can disappear the next day. So you want to slowly grow something, because slowly growing something will also slowly fall. Meaning, you're not going to wake up one day and it's all gone. You're going to see declining numbers, but that gives you time to fix whatever is wrong. So there is this truth about social media. Some people say it's bad, some people say it's good, but the truth is it's usually just both. You just need to focus on what you want from it. If you want to procrastinate and look at lifestyle obsessions, then guess what? That's what you're going to find on social media. But if you use it to build meaningful connection with people or learning interesting things, you're going to get exactly that. And I think that social media, whether or not I want to admit it or not, it's just a part of society. It's not going anywhere. It's going to evolve. Yes, there's going to be new platforms. There's probably going to be, VR and holograms, AI. And these are just attributes of it, but we're never going to go back to the way things were before, I'm saying that again, we're never going to go back to the time before social media. It's just not going to happen. Some people hope that it will happen, that social media will crash one day, but I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So get with the program, use social media. It's a great tool to reach people, to learn stuff, and to build a personal brand, to build a business. And I want to mention the idea behind building a personal brand. It's about building trust within your own community. And people are not going to just watch and listen to your content. They're also going to trust you. And that trust is something that people will pay for. And you're going to be able to sell your own products or have sponsors. Now, I can't stress how important social media is for your success. It's a whole new way of life. It's a new way of leveraging profits. Remember the days when people sold things in local shops? Well, those days are essentially gone. Some are still clinging to the old ways, like libraries, but essentially it's all gone. Now, I do want to mention that building your own brand is really not about tricking people. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, your legacy is very important here. If you provide real value, then people will recognize it, and you will feel good inside for bringing value to people. Okay, so let's dive into the topic of wage slave societies. That's what we're living in. And it's one of the most important truths that you need to learn and accept, that you are trapped in a wage slave society. And most people don't mind it. You do. Wage slavery essentially means that you're trading time for money. And there is no passive income to be made here unless you're the owner of the company. Only the company is actually making future returns on your hard work. You get paid for the time you spent at work. With passive income, things are just very different. I know that I'm talking a lot about passive income, but I just think it's just such a game changer for the digital entrepreneur. And society just doesn't seem to like that. Society wants to keep you working as a wage slave. And the slavery part of this whole thing is that you might think that you earn a lot, but in fact, your earning is just enough to get by. This is because slaves are usually poor, which is what you are. Real wealth would mean that you could take a break from work for a whole year and still be able to pay your bills. Most people are so far away from that reality that it's just so sad. You can change this. You can create digital assets that generate passive income stream for the foreseeable future. Now, I've mentioned this so many times, but I'm going to keep on doing it until you start making passive income, because I think it's just that important, okay? Now, I also want to mention a couple of words about minimalism. A few years ago, we had this trend called minimalism, right? It was awesome, and most people didn't get the point of it. I was one of the people who actually got it. But in case you missed it, here's the main reason to become a minimalist. Stop buying shit that you don't need. Things you own will end up owning you. And worse, it's a lifestyle that forces you to keep being a slave. Okay, so productivity. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. This is a quote that you've probably heard before, and most people think it comes from a movie called The Shining, but it's actually a lot older. Now, this is a quote that works as a life philosophy for me because it sort of explains how society works. And as a consultant, I see a lot of people that are very productive and non-efficient, and it dulls their minds to the point where they don't think anymore. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the truth. They're like these robots, and they're just performing task after task. Now, don't get me wrong, I like productivity as long as there is a conscious plan with a goal. When it comes to productivity, I've studied a lot of different routes to create workflows that generate the most input. But it's also about being efficient. Now, one of the things that most seasoned YouTubers will tell you is that the most efficient and productive way to film is to film several videos in a day. And if for no other reason than it is to avoid having to set up the camera and lights for every video. So there are aspects of effective work that works wonders for your workflow. But I don't like the idea of being productive every second of your life because after all, life is about more than just work. Productivity has sort of become this status symbol, you know? People who are busy, they take pride in it. They are very productive and they have their days planned and packed with activities. My experience is that some people enjoy being busy all the time, but for me, it just makes me feel stuck in a wheelbarrow. So I don't go for that. Instead, I focus more on freeing up as much time as I have so I can be creative. You see, when I feel like being creative, I prefer to have an open schedule. Now, you can either work efficiently to be as productive as possible, or you can do what I do, which is to work efficiently to free up as much time as possible. The perspective actually matters here. It matters in everything. The reason why you do something is sometimes more important than the things that you actually do. Okay, so I wanted to mention a couple of things about health. So imagine two people playing the same video game, and one is just starting out with no stamina, no health, no magic experience, and the other character, he's put in a lot of time and effort, he's specced out, basically has all of the bars maxed out. Now, the question to you is, which player do you think is going to beat the game first? This is why I started exercising. This is why I think about health. I think that exercising, eating right, and having a calm mind is essential to beat the game of success. So before doing anything to create success in your life, you need to start building a life where you are very conscious about your exercise and eating habits. And you need to have a calm mind as well, meaning that you have to have a work-life balance that keeps your mind calm. That way you can work on your goals. Now, when it comes to exercise, I used to really hate it. When it comes to eating, I just sort of ate anything that tasted good. I wasn't very conscious about my body and how important it is to actually keep it optimized and fit. And I'll be honest, you know, it's difficult to stay fit. It's difficult to eat healthy and have a good work-life balance. But I finally figured it out. It's really all about finding your personal balance, what works for you. For example, I absolutely hate cardio. So instead, I just walk, you know. I don't walk a lot. It's something like 5,000 steps a day, but I do that instead of cardio. And when it comes to food, I can't digest some fruits and vegetables because of my allergies, but I have found a diet that works for me. And so the key component here is to be conscious about how you treat your body. Some people run, some people walk, you know, whatever tickles your fanny. Now, I wanted to mention a couple of words about time. We all know that it doesn't matter how rich or successful you are in life, time is the one thing we cannot buy more of. We all know that. We have a limited amount of time on Earth, and unless you're a beetle, you know this fact. This knowledge can cause a lot of stress for most people. You know, time is running out, life is not forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's a very narrow perspective, right? Because another way of looking at it is that life is precious, meaning that every moment is beautiful because it's a limited amount. Another perspective is that because it's limited, you can make each moment count. Because life is limited, you don't want to waste most of it working on some dead-end job. The idea of the end of time, it should get you excited about being awake, even when not doing anything. It should give you the motivation to make the most of it. And motivation is very important. Now, when I was younger, I read so many books about motivation and I listened to a lot of gurus, and I was desperate for a spark of motivation because when I was young, I just wasn't feeling motivated, you know? And as I've gotten older, I find that it's easier to actually be motivated. And today, I gotta tell you that I think that being motivated is probably the easiest thing in the world. So what's the secret? Well, the secret is actually just finding the things that you love. If you're doing something that's just boring, it doesn't make you happy or fulfilled, Don't do that. If you have something when you need to find motivation to keep doing it, you've obviously picked the wrong area, you know? Basically, if you do what you love, you will never need to find ways to motivate you. Now, there are methods to make yourself feel more motivated, and some are very efficient. But my point is that when you design a life that you love, you will feel so passionate that you will not need a motivation boost. So, for example, I love creating content online, like videos, like podcasts where I share ideas and thoughts with like-minded people like myself, but I don't like the process of doing advanced video editing. And it's not because I lack the skill. I'm actually very good at it. I just don't enjoy it enough to use my valuable time on it. Now, I could hire someone to do it for me, but instead I focus on keeping things simple. I focus on the message in my words, not the wrapping around them. Again, it's a matter of perspective. Now, I wanted to mention a couple of words about fame. Would you rather be a famous millionaire or an unknown millionaire? Sometimes I see this question on Twitter, and I'm often surprised how many people would rather be famous. And I just don't know why. Like, what's the benefit? Being famous means that you can't do anything in public without worrying what the world will think. Now, if you're pursuing a goal where you want to achieve greatness, it makes sense, like your name or brand that promotes the business, that makes sense. But being famous just for the sake of being famous, it's just pointless. I still get it though, like famous people do seem happy. And I think it's in our survival instinct to copy successful people. You want what they have. And it goes back to the time when, you know, the first caveman created fire and everybody copied it and it made them survive. And it's the same thing today. We see successful people and we want to mimic them. But I'm saying copy the skills, not the fame. Fame is a byproduct. It doesn't provide happiness. Okay, so here's the truth about happiness. Nobody really knows what it is. Nobody understands it. There are moments when even I question that it even exists. It's a very vague thing. When it happens, it feels like the simplest thing can trigger it. A cup of coffee in the morning, a walk in the forest, a good conversation. It feels like when you chase it, it's just a lot harder to achieve. But we all do these choices in life because happiness drives us. We buy things, we travel because we think it will make us happy. If you really think about it, we do a lot of pointless things to strive for happiness. So in a way, I consider happiness a bit of a distraction. So why am I mentioning it in this episode? Well, it's because the reason most people don't strive for success is because they want to be happy. It's in our DNA. In life, we do things that we think will make us happy. But deep down inside, all of us, there is this powerful survival instinct that drives us. And so why is this important? Because in order to be successful, you will need to step out of your comfort zone. You have to understand that your subconscious is steering you on a path towards happiness. But the problem is your subconscious is sometimes over careful. For example, starting your business is a scary thing, it's risky, or at least that's what it feels like for most people. Therefore, in theory, business goes against happiness. And that is why the subconscious of most people will stay away from the idea of starting a business. And trust me on this, I speak from personal experience here. So this drive for happiness, it will also make you fall for distractions, and your life is jam-packed with distractions. We live in a time where focusing on one thing is extremely difficult. Perfection, I also wanted to mention perfection, or the idea of it. A lot of people want to do things, but in their heads, they build this idea of perfection. And because of that, it becomes overwhelming. But again, this is not you doing that. This is your subconscious again, steering you away from what you actually want. And it creates this gigantic, impossible quest in your head. The truth is, one, you don't need to be perfect to succeed. And two, nobody's perfect. Hey, even LeBron James misses shots. Not a lot, but he does miss some shots. So this idea of doing things perfectly is just stupid. It just doesn't make any logical sense. So all of the things that I've said in today's episode leads me to the most important lesson. You are in control. While this is inspiring and motivating, you don't believe you can do it. And that's because you've been trained your entire life to believe that. Starting a web shop, selling courses, making passive income, it all sounds too difficult. Well, there's two sides of this. One, it is hard. And two, it can also be a lot of fun. It's a challenging game that you learn to master and finally conquer, and that's how you do it. But you have to understand one simple truth about yourself, and that is you are 100% in control of your life. You just don't believe it, and you just let everything in life run on automatic. So I mentioned a lot of things today, and your brain might be hurting, and that's okay. Just like Neo, your brain is hurting because you've never actually used it before. And that's not me saying that you're stupid, but the truth is you needed to hear it to take that first step into your future. A future that only you can build, because truthfully, nobody can build it for you. Now, you can take the red pill, ignore everything that I've said today, or you can take the blue pill, and I will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Thanks for listening. Bye.